I, 24, female, am married to my wonderful husband, 26, who is trans, and he's pretty awesome. We'd never really mentioned it to anyone. He doesn't have any contact with his family, and mine don't need to know. Back in November 2019, we made the decision to have a baby. We got help, and I finally had that positive test in February of 2020, and now we have a beautiful baby boy, who is the light of our world. All throughout my pregnancy, my parents made comments about him growing up to look like his daddy, and we kind of brushed them off. When the baby popped out, he came out with jet black hair and the greenest eyes I have ever seen on a baby, which have only been getting brighter as he's growing. My husband and I are both naturally blonde with blue eyes. As you can probably imagine, my parents were very concerned I cheated on my husband, and we just kind of let them assume. My older sister contacted my husband and suggested he get a paternity test, to which he replied, "No, we had a donor." We never really wanted to tell them, but we kind of had to at this point. They got really nosy and kept asking why, suggesting therapies and medications for men who suffer from infertility, etc. In the end, my husband basically said forget it and came out to them. They don't need to worry about anything. We've got it sorted, and potentially have a plan for having our second child be biologically his with the same person. Although we aren't sure if it'll work, we still have to look into things. They got further angry, claiming we lied to them and they can't trust us, with my mother even going ahead to ask if our son was even a boy. My husband is feeling really awful because it's basically divided our entire family up. I don't think it's his fault, but I do feel like we lied to my family, and I'm also starting to feel really bad. But on the other hand, they aren't entitled to know what's between my husband's legs. Am I the idiot? I think I'm the idiot because they spent my entire pregnancy thinking my husband was the father, and now it's tearing my family apart. You are all idiots here. They don't need to know the intimate details of your relationship, but we just kind of let them assume makes you and your husband idiots. You let your family assume you cheated on your husband? Why? Under what circumstance any family would let this go unquestioned? I would be mad if my sister cheated on her husband, even more so if they both acted like nothing happened, when as far as I know, there was a massive breach of trust. Why not just say you had trouble conceiving and you got help? If you didn't want to tell them, don't, but you need to say something. Expecting them to be okay with a new family member who is the product of cheating is just strange. You are not the idiot. It's not their business. Him being trans does not wash away the person they grew to know and does not change who he is today. So if they decide they are so upset that they can't continue to have a relationship with you guys, kind of shows their true colors. Speaking of true colors, your sister showed hers when she asked your husband to take a paternity test. What? I cannot imagine having any relationship with my family if this is how they treated me before they even knew. Also, kids come out looking different from their parents all the time. I had a cousin come out with curly blonde hair and blue eyes, which to our knowledge, no one in our family had. As he grew, he turned into a spitting image of his dad, face-wise. The toxicity from your family is oozing through this post, and I hope you protect your son and your husband from them. You are not wrong. The thing that catches me is how they jump to infertility therapies and such, as if you two weren't familiar with your own reproductive options. Absolutely none of their business, and they should have left well enough alone once they found out you used help. Your husband isn't required to come out in any situation unless he decides to. I'm sorry he was basically forced to come out to them because they weren't respecting what you had told them. I have two older siblings, my brother 32 and my sister 33. I am 21. I found out I was pregnant last year. Everyone was more than happy for us and congratulated us. Everyone but my sister. My sister had to basically look after me and take on a third parent role and watch me on nights my parents worked or weekends they worked. Because of that, she blamed me and hated me because I was the reason she lost her childhood. I've apologized countless times to her because this topic came up frequently, but after a while, I gave up trying to make it up to her for something I had no control over. Over and over again, I get phone calls out of the blue of her reminding me how much I messed her childhood up and had no remorse. By the way, Shout out to all you older siblings who were forced to grow up too soon and look after your little siblings. When I announced my pregnancy, my sister called me and ruined the moment by bringing up how she had to raise me, how she lost her childhood. Then she started talking about my unborn child, saying how I'm having a baby at an early age because I want him to raise his future little siblings like she had to. She continued on how I'd never make a good mom because I didn't grow up like she did. I finally had enough of her and went no contact. My son was born last month, and everyone has gotten a chance to see him on FaceTime. My brother and parents were the only ones to see him in person. My sister got in contact with my brother and told him to tell me when can she see him. I told him to tell her. She isn't allowed to see him because of the way she treated me when I was pregnant. I'm assuming she told our parents this because my dad wants me to let her see my baby. He said let bygones be bygones and stop living in the past, and my mom agreed. My fiance is on my side. My brother is more on her side and only thinks she should apologize for what she said about me being a bad mom, which she's refused to apologize for because she insists she did nothing wrong. I'm not too keen on letting her see him still. I feel like I'm being an idiot by not allowing her to see him. Am I one? Editing to add, my brother also babysat me, which he always said it wasn't as bad as my sister makes it out to be. Also adding, he didn't watch me as much as she did when he started to play sports. I barely remember my childhood days. I just know she stopped looking after me once I was in school. You are not the idiot. Your dad needs to give that advice to your sister and tell her to apologize to you. If she still has this resentment towards you after all these years later, I wouldn't trust her not to be awful to the baby. You are not the idiot. Your sister is understandably angry, but her anger is misplaced. She should be angry with your parents. Your parents forced her to give up her childhood to become a third parent to you. The things she has said to you are unacceptable. She should seek therapy and apologize to you. Your parents are on her side because she is blaming you for their behavior. It's your child and your choice who has a relationship with him. You have done nothing wrong. Congrats on your little one. Let's not forget to mention that anyone who can't contact the new parents directly, probably not someone who has a right to see the baby. All this talk going through the brother and the parents, it's insane. Until she is at a point where she can call OP directly, no baby for you. You are not wrong here. Your sister's grudge/behavior is extremely unusual, especially at 33 years old. The fact that she'd call you to randomly remind you that you stole her childhood from her? Older siblings having to take care of their younger brothers and sisters, usually accepted. Yeah, being forced to grow up early sucks, but that is just life. And most people are able to accept that, move on, and live normal and fulfilling lives. Your sister is a pathetic weirdo. Stand your ground. You know what's best. Don't let your parents make you feel guilty for going no contact. Side note, I am 14 years older than my youngest sibling, and never had I held a grudge for babysitting. The only awkward thing was people assuming I was a very young mom of multiple children. LOL. I, 25 female, have 2 daughters, toddler and a baby, and they're both very cute. My oldest is much like her mama in the fact that she loves dressing up and being pretty. I've personally never gendered clothes. If I can rock a guy's t-shirt, I will. My girl is very much the same. Also, dinosaurs are cool, and you never get girls' clothes with dinosaurs, which she gets very angry about. In her opinion, boys' clothes are much comfier, and I wholeheartedly agree. She also gets very mad about no pockets in her girl jeans, which I also agree with. This has never been an issue with my family until I had my second baby. I'm not sure if any other parents have noticed, but baby boys' clothes are so incredibly cute. It started off with blue onesies, but slowly progressed and half her wardrobe is from the boys' section now. I don't see the issue. They're clothes and they're cute. Sure, maybe the odd stranger will tell me how cute my little man is, and I'll just nod and smile. She's a baby. She doesn't care how people perceive her. Why should I? Her gender is irrelevant when I'm ringing up my groceries. My parents and siblings have always been weird about it and always make a big show of buying her very girly clothes, but I mostly ignored it. The bigger issue started a few days ago when I went to go see my parents. Oldest was wearing a very average dinosaur-themed outfit, and youngest was wearing a sailor onesie that says, "Little Sailor" on the front. My mother completely lost it, saying I was trying to make my daughters lesbians with some colorful names, which hurt me. I'm one, but not out to my family. Or wasn't, may or may not have accidentally outed myself. But either way, I was angry. My girls were upset, so we left and had ice cream for dinner. My brother called to apologize for our mother's behavior and proceeded to try and guilt trip me, claiming it was really my fault and that I can't blame her for getting mad when I'm disgracing my children like I am. I told him he was just as bad as her, and an outfit wasn't going to make her something she's not. But it's really been getting to me. Am I the idiot? I don't want to destroy my family over this. It's understandable she's concerned. The boys' clothes section is usually right next to the lesbian section in most stores, and it's easy to be shopping and get distracted enough that you don't realize you're buying a lesbian dinosaur shirt, not a boy dinosaur shirt. And we all know, clothes define a person. Your family is ridiculous. I rocked my brother's hand-me-downs as a baby, but somehow fought the lesbian magic in them and turned out straight. You are not the idiot. Not to mention that women can be sailors, at least in my country. We have a baby onesie that says Captain Adorable on it with a monkey pilot. I refuse to pretend it's gendered, as women can be captains and pilots too, even if the onesie is blue, which is just a nice color. People get so worked up about nothing. Like OP said, who cares what strangers think about her child's gender as she rings up her groceries? You are not wrong here, and you're pretty awesome for letting your kiddo choose her clothes. No pockets on girls' jeans sucks, and dinosaurs are awesome. You're doing great, and well done for showing your kids how to be open and unashamedly themselves. Stick to your guns, and don't let anyone rain on your dinosaur-filled parade. I have been dating my current girlfriend for nearly 2 years. I have a son, Alan, and she has a nearly adult daughter, Kay. They didn't officially live with me, but stayed over a fair amount. We all know how hard global situation made it on all of us. I won't complain, as others have it much harder than I. My home is just your average run-of-the-mill home in the US. If anything, I've been lucky enough to have the means to stay active because of my pool, basketball court, and mini gym. For a while, my girlfriend's friends, family, and daughter's friends have been visiting daily to make use of the pool and other things. At first it was fine, and I was okay entertaining people. However, that got old over time. I had a conversation with my girlfriend about telling her people to back off a bit, and though it bothered her, she did. Well, 2-3 weeks ago, her aunt, uncle, and cousins were over. This was okay to be clear, she asked prior, enjoying the pool. We talked about restrictions being lifted slowly and being grateful for that, and soon after, the aunt asked if it was possible for us to host her cousin's birthday. I told them that I didn't feel comfortable having that in my house, and they explained that it would just be a very small party because of global situation. I told them if that was the case, then I was happy to help. They made arrangements for food and drinks, and that was that. Earlier this week, Alan came into the kitchen while my girlfriend and I were cooking, and he was visibly upset. I asked what was wrong, and he pointed at my girlfriend's daughter, saying she's the problem. She's a liar, and I know why her dad hates her so much. He went at her pretty hard, and I got him to eventually say what the problem was. Apparently, Kay had told her friends my son was filming her and the other girls with his drone while they swam. I asked her why she said that, and my girlfriend interjected saying, "Ask if it's true first," which made it even tenser. I knew it wasn't true because his drone doesn't have a camera and said as much. I was livid right alongside him. An accusation like that carries weight for people. I told my girlfriend that they needed to confess to the lies now, and Kate needed to fix it right then and there. She sent out texts saying how she was wrong, but it didn't set right with me at all. I told my girlfriend and daughter they needed to leave and not come back anytime soon. The next day, I explained what happened to her uncle and aunt and informed them the party was canceled at my home and Kay was to blame. The food arrived the 2 days before the party, and I left it where it was delivered and told them to pick it up ASAP, which they couldn't do, so it was weathered, damaged. I didn't want to touch it and be liable for it. I guess this put them in a huge bind for several reasons, and they are now blaming Kate for the mistake. It really snowballed out of control for her, and they've been ostracized from their family. You are not wrong here. The daughter tried to smear your son. You are protecting him from awful allegations, and the fact that your girlfriend went instantly for no, obviously he should have something to confess here before she realized that the drone doesn't even have a camera, is telling. You are trying to protect him, as is your job. The girlfriend and her whole family need to accept the consequences of the girlfriend and her daughter's actions. You are not wrong. You are not the idiot. You have every right to protect your child when your girlfriend and daughter attack him. I'm so glad you backed him up, because I've seen way too many cases of someone choosing their SO's side to keep peace in the relationship. That being said, there's no way for you to host a party at this point. You want a break from your girlfriend. So what, you're going to host a party for her family and exclude her and her daughter? I can't blame you for not wanting the party at all. I would also rethink my relationship if I were you. It doesn't seem like your girlfriend cares too much about your son, at least in this instance, which could have a huge impact on his life. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the relationship is over. Too much happened at this point. I am going to go against the grain and say no idiots here. This is under the assumption that Kay believed the drone was a recording device and didn't lie on purpose. Yes, she should have brought her concerns to an adult first, but being young, she made a bad decision and was punished for it. Of course, her mother would question why you wouldn't bother to even ask your son, to which you had a very good answer. I would have kicked them out too. Gotta protect your kid. 6 or so months ago, my cousin Natalie was kicked out of home for being a lesbian. Together, the cousins pitched in $15,000 to help Natalie land on her feet. And against all odds, she seems to have been able to do just that. She's in the final year of her commerce degree, has a part-time job as a secretary at an accounting firm, and rents a share house with a group of her close mates. She seems to be much happier now than she was at this time last year. But life hasn't been all sunshines and rainbows. A part-time salary, in conjunction with whatever welfare Natalie is eligible for, just isn't enough for a full-time student to support herself. So, a fortnight ago, Natalie made a plea to the cousins for further financial assistance, which we happily provided to the sum of an additional $10,000. I personally donated $5,000 of this, $25,000 total. Of course, this money was given without strings, but I did expect the money to be spent toward essentials. That's a fair expectation, right? So I was rather taken aback when Natalie showed up at my house for a catch-up with the cousins last weekend, wearing a Cartier love ring on her finger. I asked whether it was a gift from a girlfriend, but Natalie said she bought it for herself to commemorate surviving this atrocious year, which, I don't know, just doesn't land right with me. It turns out the ring cost $3,000, which is a ludicrous sum to be spending on jewelry when you literally just begged for charity 2 weeks prior. Maybe I should have kept my opinions to myself, and maybe because I didn't makes me wrong. I don't know, you decide. But I spoke up, and Natalie quickly became defensive, asking rhetorically whether the donations came with conditions. Of course it didn't, but surely, when you're asking for financial assistance, it's because you're struggling to make ends meet, not because you want to finance an expensive piece of jewelry. No. The conversation devolved further, with her claiming that I am financially mistreating her by trying to control her with the donation. Here's where I really messed up. I angrily told her she's not welcome in my home anymore, which of course triggered the trauma of being kicked out by her parents. Natalie stormed off, yelling that she'll pay me back the $5,000, which isn't what I wanted at all. Look, I feel really bad, but at the same time, I can't help but feel a $3,000 jewelry purchase just shouldn't be on the cards for her right now. Am I wrong? You are not wrong. Sounds like your cousin is a scammer, honestly. Have you spoken to her parents? Financially mistreating her? LOL. She's trying to gaslight you. And then having the audacity to show up to a gathering with all those people whose generosity she took advantage of, flaunting the tacky designer rings she bought with their money after she claimed to need it for living expenses? You are not the idiot. You gave her an extra $5,000 on top of the thousands you and others had given her because she supposedly needed that money to survive. She spent more than half of what you gave her on a piece of jewelry. I would feel like I'd been taken advantage of if I was you, because that's what she did. Oh, and she's never going to pay back that $5,000. I'm not a fan of shaming people who need assistance for having things that some would consider a luxury. But this isn't the case here. You and your cousins gave her $10,000 when she said she was desperate for money and spent 30% of it on expensive jewelry? That is a slap in the face, and you had every right to question it. You are not wrong.